Hello, Pattern Brands. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Kevin, and as you can see, I am very excited to be here because I believe our consulting team has put together a tremendous presentation packed full of wonderful information for you. And so let's dive straight into what you can expect to hear from us today. In our agenda, you will hear Christian and Amanda speak on the company overview and analysis, as well as the industry analysis altogether. In our recommendations, you'll hear from myself, Hannah, and Taylor in our 4 recommendations that we have for you. And then for our conclusion, you'll see me one last time for our final recommendations and just the closing thoughts. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it straight over to Christian for our company overview.
Thank you, Kevin. And good morning. My name is Cristian Arellano, and today I'll be going over a quick company overview before we dive into the industry analysis and the company's analysis itself. Now, we know that you know who you are as Pattern Brands, but we think it's healthy to have an outsider's perspective to where your company stands at the time. So first, the Pattern Brands mission. Pattern is a family of brands that inspire to learn, explore, and lay the foundation for a more present life. The company's goal is to create deeper, more personal relationships with each consumer so they can best serve their needs through the family of brands. Of course, we know that Pattern Brands was founded with the idea that they can bring more enjoyment to the day, to the life of burned out millennials, and we can see that reflected by their mission. So a few of the company takeaways that we gathered from the analysis that we conducted of this company are: the target market is still fairly niche, looking for millennials with a 6-figure income that also purchase their appliances online is fairly niche to share amongst both brands that are under the parent company. Customer acquisition is a problem because it's through the direct-to-consumer model, we are able to share the customers through our brands through cross-promoting and cross-branding. But since it is starting 2 brands from scratch, the customers are still barely coming in. So the customer overlap between equal parts and open spaces is still isn't there yet. But that's one of the takeaways that we can get from that. The marketing costs. Of course, this company used to be Gin Lane, which handled the marketing for other fairly known brands. So they are used to the high marketing costs that this entails. But as a parent company of 2 brands that are purely done through direct-to-consumer means, through e-commerce, the marketing costs are going to skyrocket, and they're going to have to be shared amongst all of the brands. The unclear messaging that we see coming from the parent company and from the 2 brands is kind of confusing for the customer with what one represents or wants to bring to the consumer and what the other company actually has to show in order to sell. It's a quickly flooded market also because it is e-commerce, and as soon as someone does it right online, there's a bunch of copycats that come in and try to do it the same way. At the time, Pattern Brands is one of the leaders in the direct-to-consumer model, so it hasn't been a problem, but it can quickly become a flooded market. The resource allocation will be a problem for Pattern Brands because if one brand is being more successful, it's going to have more resources targeted towards it, and it's going to take away resources that could be used to grow one of the least popular brands or the smaller brands. So there could be some resource cannibalization from between the brands. And of course, we explore the possibilities of launching a new brand, since we know it's part of the core of Pattern Brands to launch a brand every 6 months. We explore the possibilities where there's the most potential and why one of those options is the best for this company moving forward. So now I will send this off to Amanda to talk about the industry analysis, and I'll be right back to talk about the company. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. I will now be discussing the industry analysis. So starting off with Porter's 5 forces plus 1, the threat of substitutes is pretty strong. Instead of cookware, there's takeouts and restaurants. Instead of cooking at home, in terms of home organization and open spaces, there's professional cleaners and organizers who will come and organize your house for you. And although these don't tend to be great substitutes for cookware and home organization because those are things that any person would have to do at home. There's also the addition of walk-in stores like Target, Walmart, Home Goods, IKEA, and the list just keeps going. There's many, many walk-in types of stores that sell the same product, so this is a really strong force. Intensity of rivalry is also pretty strong. There's other direct-to-consumer and e-commerce options such as Amazon, Great Jones, just to name a few. And also the frequency of purchase. These aren't products that are purchased all the time, so that extra competition for consumers is pretty fierce because, like, example, cookware, you don't buy that super often. You kind of buy it once, and if you buy good stuff, it could last you like 20 years. So moving on to complements, this is pretty strong because of the current like limited food service in restaurants, and people are tending to stay home more. So there's more emphasis on wanting to cook at home or needing to cook at home, and as well as you have to be in your own home space more. So there's more want for it to be a nice, clean, organized space, as well as meal kit services like HelloFresh and Blue Apron. These go really well with cookware because they encourage people to cook at home, and these are made for people with busy lifestyles. And if you create cookware that's super accessible and easy to use and simple, that is a really great complement, as well as younger generations tend to live in smaller living spaces such as apartments in downtown and urban areas. So there's more need for great home organization. Risk of entry is only a moderate force. There is strong brand loyalty with some cookware brands that have been around for decades. And then market saturation. There are a lot of brands that sell cookware and home organization at the moment, but there's only low government regulation. There's normal labor, trade laws, but there's not a ton of laws regarding cookware and home organization. The main thing is that the FDA does regulate food contact products. And then bargaining power of suppliers is moderate. There are many suppliers, but because Pattern takes product from China, it is pretty difficult to obtain product at times. So that would also be a moderate force. And the bargaining power of buyers, they do have a wide variety of choice. So they can obviously choose to go with cheaper brands, but they are just the average consumer. So as far as changing up the price of our products, that is not a great force. Going forward with industry life cycle, we looked at it in all three different aspects. So as far as Pattern itself, and then equal parts and open spaces. So direct-to-consumer brands in general are in a growth stage. There's constantly new brands entering the market, especially when a really good product is developed or a really good idea is come up with. Brands tend to start developing things and flocking to the market. So this is in a growth stage. As well as a little bit more shocking, cookware is kind of in a growth stage at the moment. Although selling cookware has been around for a really long time, there definitely are brands that have been around for decades. Recent brands have decided that there's kind of a gap in the market where younger millennials and Gen Z are kind of getting to that adult age, and there's more of a need for simplistic, stylish, trendy pieces rather than, say, like a 20-piece set that our parents, grandparents may have wanted. People, the younger generations kind of want more simple, easy to use products. So there are tons of new cookware brands coming into the market at the moment. Home organization would be more of a mature stage. There's not many companies entering the market at the moment. So yes, and I will now pass it over to Christian to discuss the company analysis.
Hello again. So now we're going to go through the company analysis, and we're going to do this by exploring the business model for Pattern brands, equal parts, and open spaces separately. We will then go through the value chain analysis for Pattern brands as a whole. So first, we're going to utilize the magic triangle model to visualize how these separate entities work. So first, as I mentioned before, Pattern brands does this by employing the direct-to-consumer model, which means they don't have any physical stores, and they handle all of their sales through their website or through e-commerce trade. The only things they outsource are their design and the creation of their appliances to other firms. They also do this by offering affordable quality, and the parent brand model allows or enables cross-branding between these brands. And they want to highlight, like we saw in the mission, the little things in life that allow us to enjoy our day to day. Now, why is Pattern Brands doing this? Because they want our generation to enjoy our daily life, and because there's a big opportunity with cross branding between whatever our portfolio holds. Who is Pattern Brands focusing? Primarily millennial workers who feel burned out, who don't want to use their phones that much, and want to learn new skills. What is Pattern Brands offering? They offer quality products through integrated brand marketing. They offer products with a premium feel, and of course, the umbrella brand that trickles down the mission that Pattern Brands has. Now, exploring the business model of the two brands under Pattern are Open Spaces and Equal Parts. Open Spaces being their newer brand, it's their home organization company, and Equal Parts being their cooking-ware line. So first, we're going to explore their more recent brand launch, which is Open Spaces. Again, also employing the direct-to-consumer model. In this case, they're using warm and inviting language to bring people to their website to make them feel comfortable. They want you to customize the feel of your home and to create new open space at home. Why is Open Spaces doing this? Because homeowners care about the appearance of their homes, and because we believe that open spaces can create more space to actually enjoy. Who is Open Spaces marketing to? Of course, we have millennials and younger Gen Zers. In this case, we mapped out Burned Out Barry and Stressed Out Sally as two buyer personas. Burned Out Barry, for example, being our college graduate that went on straight into their master's, dove into their career straight away, and has really been going and going and going. So now they're in their mid-30s, they're feeling burned out and like they need to take a break. On the other hand, we have Stressed Out Sally, which right after high school started working straight away, got married, had some kids. Now she has a lot of responsibility she has to juggle, and she's feeling stressed out. So these are just examples of the type of market that we're looking for Open Spaces. What is Open Spaces offering? Open and warm offerings. Again, all of the language around Open Spaces is on the calming effects of enjoying the little things in life. They bring home organization items. They sell them in pairs, just so you can have more options how you customize your home. And again, they want you to design your home on a more deep and emotional level. On the other hand, we have Equal Parts, which it was their first brand launch, and it already went through their first rebranding. And the business model that we're seeing here is what happened after their rebranding. Of course, they're still using direct-to-consumer business model. Now they're offering more affordable quality, and they're still utilizing the parent brand model, where most of their communication is trying to portray the message that comes in the mission from Pattern Brands. And in this case, Equal Parts is highlighting the benefits instead of the emotions of cooking, like we could see previously in Open Spaces. Why is Equal Parts doing this? Because cooking can be relaxing and help you enjoy the little things in life, and because they offer equal parts value and equal parts quality. Who is Equal Parts targeting? So originally it was, again, millennials and younger Gen Zers, just like Open Spaces, but through the rebranding, we actually figured out that women between 25 and 45 that want to cook and learn more about cooking was actually the market that was buying our products. Now, what is Equal Parts selling? It's selling quality, high-end direct-to-consumer cooking ware. Now, it's emphasis on the high end because it's chef-grade tools. It's not just Tupperware, it's quality products. And they also come with a cooking coach subscription, which it's totally optional, but it's good to have it there. Now they offer the usual gamut of colors instead of the reduced amount of colors they offered before. And now they have a more user-friendly design, not focused on looking pretty, more focused on the benefits that the customers want for those products. After explaining the business model, looking at the value chain for Pattern Brands, we can see that their support activities, it's fairly similar to other companies. They have the management and finance, the human resources department, and the technology development is focused on which new appliances or items are going to be developed, and which brands are also going to be expanded to. The procurement department, of course, like I mentioned before, it's which firms are going to design which item and which firms are going to produce said item. Now, for their primary activities, coming before being Pattern Brands, coming from being Jin Lane, you know that marketing is one of the biggest costs with direct-to-consumer models. So we wanted to highlight the amount that marketing costs, that marketing that goes into this company, along with cross-brand promotions, which are being developed separately, the new product development on which products are coming up with each of the brands, the added services that come with each of these brands, with equal parts the cooking coach that I mentioned before, and with open spaces, there's lectures and tutoring to how to fully organize your home, and the customer support department, of course, allowing the margin to be there for Pattern Brands. And after conducting all of this analysis, we went through the industry, we went through the company, and we also had to factor in the key takeaways that we had from the company to come up with 4 recommendations that we believe that will further Pattern Brands in the future, that will help develop it as a household known brand for millennials. So first, to explore the first recommendation, I have my friend and colleague Kevin come and talk to you. Thank you.
Now it's time for our recommendations. We have 4 recommendations for you. I will be speaking on the home fitness brand. Hannah will be touching on the home gardening brand. And Taylor will be speaking on both the brick and mortar store as well as pop-up shops. Moving into the home fitness industry, some of the reasons for is that it's currently a very lucrative industry, making around $12 billion annually. This trend has continued to grow by 4% over the next 6 years, moving into the $15 billion annual sales. Currently, e-commerce in 2019 was around $19 million, and it's safe to say that during this global pandemic, those e-commerce sales are going to help sales thrive even stronger currently and in the near future as well. And best of all, North America is the largest region for the home fitness equipment in 2019. Some of the reasons against moving into the home fitness industry would be that this would strengthen your reliance on China. We know that during this pandemic, it has been a bit of a headache to be able to get your products from them. And so this headache sadly would continue for as long as you move into the home fitness industry during this global pandemic. Other reasons against is that cardio machines do make up the most amount of sales within this industry. And as you'll see on our next slide, some of the product ideas that we have for you are not going to be cardio machine related. And the last reason against will be that tech companies are moving into this industry, and they are moving into this industry quite strong. Products like the Smart Mirror and the Pelotons, we're just not going to be able to compete on that same level. But as you'll see, it is quite okay. The current industry ratios are quite strong. Profit margins sit above 5%. Return on assets are high, above 7%. Return on equity is quite strong at 26%, and revenue and gross profits are both within the billions of dollars range. Some of the products that we have in place for you are smaller products such as kettlebells, yoga bands, fitness band sets, and custom dumbbells. This is to help promote other brands as well, because we wanted to be able to store the home fitness equipment within Open Spaces products, your wire baskets, your bins, and whatever else is coming down the line. Being able to take your third brand, which may be your home fitness industry brand, and apply that into both Open Spaces and into equal parts as well can help sales of all 3. A great idea here may be to go ahead and have a cookbook bundle where you can get a home fitness kettlebells, yoga bands, whatever you may choose. You can get a bin to store it in, as well as a cookbook and maybe some equal parts products to promote an overall healthy lifestyle. After all, when we all get home, we want to unwind. We want to have that clear open space. We want to have a healthy body and a healthy mind and make healthy food. And this would allow you to do that in a way that can promote great lifestyle, great brand awareness, exactly what you want, and sales, as we can see, are quite strong. Within the home fitness, your cost of goods are quite low, while your selling price is actually quite high. The selling prices that you see before you are all actually on the lower end. So with your own products, you can sell them a little bit higher, and you can see that the profits are quite strong. The values that we have here, when you're selling the 1,500 or 15,000, those are all pure profit based. So again, depending on that selling price and this cost of goods, you're looking at a home fitness industry that can be quite lucrative and help promote greater brand wellness awareness within open spaces and equal parts, which is why we believe that the home fitness industry is a strong idea for you. And now to speak on the home gardening is Hannah. Hannah?
Thank you, Kevin. Now I will go over our next alternative, which would be to expand into the home gardening industry. Gardening pairs with Pattern and its two other brands by creating a more homely environment like open spaces and providing fresh ingredients to use while cooking with equal parts cookware. Some reasons for this particular expansion are the high profit potential, the ability to specialize in several areas such as organic gardening, natural pesticides, native plants, edible plants, and so forth. When entering the gardening industry, Pattern can partner with landscapers, garden shops, and even teaching facilities to offer classes to customers. Reasons against going into the gardening industry are that Pattern will have some large competitors, including stores like Home Depot and other large gardening companies. Business may also slow down in some regions if customers live in a seasonal climate. I have also conducted research of the home gardening industry metrics. Industry ratios include a profit margin of 10.69%, a return on assets of 4.24%, ROE, return on equity, 7.62%, revenue, $7.33 billion, gross profit, $2.99 billion. Potential products include gloves, pots, hand rakes, and seedlings. As you can see here, gloves have a cost of goods sold of $1.20, pots $2.50, hand rakes $2, seedlings $4. Gloves have a selling price of $7, pots $12, hand rakes $11, and seedlings of $16. If 1,500 units were sold of gloves, you would have a potential profit of $8,700. Pots, $14,250. Hand rakes, $13,500. Seedlings, $18,000. If 15,000 units were sold of gloves, you would have a potential profit of $87,000. Pots at 15,000 units, $142,500, hand rakes, $135,000, and finally seedlings, $185,000 at the unit of 15,000. Now I will be handing it off to Taylor to go over the last two alternatives.
Hi guys, my name is Taylor. I'm currently here to talk to you guys about our recommendation of opening a physical store for Pattern brands. Basically, we believe that you guys should open a physical store for many reasons. These reasons include to create knowledge benefits associated with parent brand Pattern. As we know, there's not very much connection between Pattern with the consumers of Equal Parts and Open Spaces. Nobody really knows who Pattern is per se. So a physical store with the Pattern brand's name on it, containing the goods and products from Equal Parts and Open Spaces, would help connect those brands to the parent brand overall. On top of that, we would also connect Equal Parts and Open Spaces with the potential for cross-selling and cross-marketing. This would basically help to reduce costs in terms of marketing and sales separately. It'd be much easier to be able to advertise, market, and sell goods together for a fraction of the cost instead of doing everything personally for each brand. It'll also allow for consumers to be able to look at both sets of products and both brands at the same time within a store. We'll also increase in sales from in-person markets. As we know, a lot of consumers would rather shop in person than online. We also have immediate data for opening stores in certain locations. Right now, the target consumers are millennials. Many millennials, as we've seen through some research data, are currently moving to and trying to work in Texas. So our current recommendation for opening a physical store would be in Texas. It'd be in Austin to be specific. Our last reason for opening the physical store would be creating awareness for future brand launches would be much easier. Basically, you know, if you already have a store and it's already getting consumers, getting customers, it'd be much easier to advertise to those customers as well as just bring that new brand and its products into the store with the others. So the reasons against opening a physical store include the high costs associated with opening a physical store. Obviously, there's a lot of high costs associated when you're trying to create a new store, including, you know, rent, hiring employees, distributing products, etc. And our next reason for being against would be the additional competition from home goods sellers in the in-person market. Obviously, you guys are already competing with a lot of major brands in terms of home goods sales. However, creating an in-person store would also create more competition against people like Target, Home Goods, Crate and Barrel, etc. And finally, opening a physical store during a pandemic right now would obviously be very difficult and lead to max capacities or limited capacities in store in terms of how many customers you're trying to fit into a store at once. And yeah, it would just be very difficult to deal with. So here is the startup cost of basically what it would cost. It's what it would cost to create the physical store. We found a place in Austin, Texas specifically that we thought could work out. Basically, the rent is about $90,000 a year, $7,500 a month. It's 2,000 square feet total, which obviously if we decide to open a third brand or if we just decide that we need more space, there are other places we could look. But this was the original one that we thought could potentially work for opening a store. Employee payment, minimum wage in Austin, Texas specifically right now is $7.25 per hour, which means for one full-time employee, if they're working 40 hours a week, you would be paying about $15,080 for the full year for one employee, and you're going to have around, I'm assuming, at least 10 employees. That's also not counting managers and higher up positions that you're going to have to pay more towards. The distribution of products, third-party distribution prices may vary, but can range from 3% to 30% of the sales price, depending on how you guys want to get products to the store and how you want to distribute them. Other than that, other costs include licenses and permits, store fixtures, equipment, technology, professional services, marketing, store decor, utilities, and other costs. There are a lot of costs to opening a brick and mortar store. The fourth recommendation that we have would be similar, but not quite the same, would be to open a pop-up shop. Pop-up shops are less temporary, and we believe they are also less costly, and it might be a good way to figure out if opening an entire physical store for the long term would be worth it in terms of the company. So the reasons for opening a pop-up shop are the same as opening the physical store. It'll increase the benefits associated with parent brand, as well as increase the in-person market sales, while also creating a connection between open spaces and equal parts. However, it is less expensive than having a permanent store and will save you guys a lot of money and give you the opportunity to decide if you even want to have a physical store or if you would like to stay in the direct-to-consumer market online for online sales. Pop-up shops will also give greater brand awareness and exposure to more customer bases because you guys can switch from location to location. You're not necessarily building one store and being stuck in one spot or one city or one state at a time. You guys can go all over the place and market yourselves and try to create sales. And finally is the scarcity effect. The cons of a pop-up shop, however, would be it's not easy for consumers to reach pop-up shops once they're gone. If you have consumers who want more information or are potentially trying to return products or discuss issues, obviously it's going to be very difficult for them to contact you guys because the store itself will not be there anymore, most likely, because you guys will only be there for a limited time. There's limited available space, which limits stock availability. You guys are already going to have a pop-up shop itself is very small, and you guys are already going to have limited stock and products available that you can bring with you and travel with for these pop-up shops, which is going to suck, especially if you guys end up selling out at one of these pop-up shops and you need more products for people. Obviously, where are you going to get them? There's also difficulty in finding the perfect location to set up a pop-up shop. You guys are going to obviously try and find the best possible place where you can get the most customers and the most awareness, most attention in whatever state or city you guys are in. Sometimes it's difficult to choose where you want to go or where you want to start with. And the amount of work setting up a storefront multiple times. Obviously with pop-up shops, they come and they go. You set them up, you try and sell and get some awareness going, and then after a little bit, you leave and go to a different location. Obviously that requires a lot of work and a lot of setup. So these would be the pop-up shop startup costs. Basically, after looking into it, building costs would be usually more short-term if you're trying to set up a pop-up shop in 1 to 2 areas, maybe 3 locations in terms of switching and traveling. It can cost you as low as $1,500, which is not a lot. This is not counting the traveling fees, obviously, from switching from location to location. The building costs would also include displays, merchandise, and other decor that you want to put in the pop-up shop to gain people's attention and get awareness. The employee payment would have to be it would be different than a physical store because workers will be paid the minimum wage, most likely. But minimum wage obviously changes from state to state and city to city. And then you also have designers, logistics specialists, merchandisers, etc., who will require more pay. And you will have to decide if you want to have full-time employees that travel with the pop-up shop wherever it goes, or if you would like to hire new people per location that you go to. I would recommend traveling employees, but that also, might cost more money. You'd have to pay those employees more probably. The distribution of products, again, transportation requires a lot of space. You're gonna have to have vans, U-Hauls, etc., to bring everything from one space to another. And it's really costly to transport goods to multiple locations at once. And other costs that are similar to the brick and mortar store would basically be licenses, insurance, security, POS systems, location expenses, and then advertising and marketing. I'd say location expenses is probably the biggest one that you guys will have to worry about, purely because it does take a lot of communication and planning, depending on where you want your pop-up shop to be. If you're going to put it in a mall, if you're going to put it outside of a sports arena during sporting games or during farmers markets in a city, there's endless possibilities, but they're all going to cost differently and they're going to require a lot of planning and focus.
Thank you, Hannah, and thank you, Taylor, for those excellent recommendations. Now it's time for our final recommendation as well as our conclusion. Our final recommendation is this. We wish for you to go into the pop-up shops and to expand your third brand into the home fitness industry. We believe that by doing this will give the greatest amount of exposure to your customers with the lowest expenses. This does not change your business model whatsoever. In fact, we believe that it strengthens it because this will create greater brand awareness for Pattern Brand, your parent company, so that everybody knows Pattern Brand is the one that sells open spaces, it sells equal parts, and that third home fitness industry line. And Lastly, this allows an opportunity to create stylish and sleek products different than what is currently available straight into your target market. So thank you so very much, Pattern Brand, for your time. Thank you for listening to us today, and thank you for hiring us as your consulting team. Today, we got to hear Christian and Amanda speak on the company overview, as well as your company analysis, as well as the industry analysis as a whole. Hannah, Taylor, and myself gave you some great recommendations, as well as our final recommendations of the pop-up shop and expand that third line into the home fitness industry. And now, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, we are more than happy to address those. And we want to thank you one last time for all that you've done, and we look forward to a bright future with Pattern Brand. Thank you very much, and have a great day. Bye-bye.